Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of our Accelerate No Code Revolution. I'm Eric Hale, Head of Sales Enablement here at Creatio, and we've got an exciting day planned for us here with some very intuitive sessions. We're building, right? We had day 1 that was focused on fueling growth within organizations. Yesterday was focused on technology. And today we're going to be focusing on industry workflow automation for manufacturing and distribution. And we've partnered with our esteemed colleagues at Teco Systems to help this presentation today. Got great experience within the manufacturing and distribution space. So I'd like to welcome the folks from Teco Systems. Before we jump into everything, yesterday we had a quiz during our product session for a new set of Apple AirPods. We had the quiz, and as indicated, the person who answered the most questions correctly is the winner. And I would like to announce that Dino Jose Vidili has answered the most questions correctly and has won himself a set of Apple AirPods. So congratulations, Dino. Someone from our team will be contacting you today to make arrangements, and enjoy those new AirPods, Dino. All right, so looking at our agenda for today, we're going to have 5 key sessions, starting with some thought leadership on how no-code and AI and machine learning will transform manufacturing and distribution going into next year and beyond. We're also going to have a few sessions here with our partner community, real-life examples of no-code experience, so disruption-driven, fueling no-code, and also we're going to have a great session with Jenny Beer, one of our senior solution engineers, that will go over how to streamline the quoting process with no-code. And finally, we'll have our digital circle, where I'll be joined by some key thought leaders within the industry here. And it's going to be a lively discussion, so I'm looking forward to that. And as always, I just want to thank our partner community once again for their participation within our Accelerate event and helping us to bring content to the audience that is going to help them revolutionize the way that they automate their processes into the future. So let's go ahead and get started. Day 3, and our first session, Thought Leadership, are with my 2 colleagues, Eric Ogilvie and Darren Mercer, and they're going to be discussing how no-code and AI and machine learning will transform manufacturing and distribution. So Eric, Darren, I'll turn it over to you. I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues, Eric Ogilvie and Darren Mercer. How are you guys?
Hey, Eric, good morning.
All right. Perfect. This session promises to be, very interactive with the audience. I know that AI and machine learning are always two big topics that people want to discuss. So what I'll do is I'll turn it over to you guys, and I'll monitor the chats for any questions for you.
Awesome, I appreciate it. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for joining. And I'm also joined by Darren Mercer, as mentioned. He's one of my colleagues here at Creatio. I'm a senior account manager, so I work and partner with some of the largest companies we have here at Creatio. And Darren is one of our sales executives who works and partners with customers who are exploring low-code technology, being able to share information and be able to advise and potentially bring people on board to work with us here at Creatio. So as far as the topics for today, as Eric mentioned, I think this is a very important, very interesting session. It is about how low-code AI and machine learning are affecting the manufacturing industry, but it affects all of us, right? This isn't just you working in that industry having challenges, but pretty much every human on planet Earth has had some sort of involvement and impact they felt because of the worldwide pandemic and its impact on the manufacturing industry. All right, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the challenges that COVID posed. First is going to be the impacts. So this is all information that was found by industry experts. And first and foremost, it was 7.5% drop in this industry in manufacturing just in the year 2020 alone. And it's not expected to recover and reach the levels it was at in 2019 until the year 2022. So it was quite a heavy impact it had. It's one that's going to be lasting. It equates to $2.8 trillion of value. And then some of the industries that were hit hardest within manufacturing, the global machinery production is actually an 11% reduction during this time. Automotive production will be one of the hardest hit. Unlikely to recover until 2024 is what they found. My wife is trying to change this. She has her eye on a new Tesla, so she wants to be part of stimulating the economy a little bit. So we'll see if we can help there. And also the aerospace, obviously very, very largely hit by the pandemic. And there was a 21% reduction, a collapse in demand for air travel during this time. So those are the impacts that were felt because of COVID-19. Now, the reactions to it. What did businesses do when they went through this situation? You'll see these are the focuses that happened amongst CIOs, according to Gartner, based on the experience. Whopping 93%, there's the resilience on the supply chain. That's obviously crucial here. Don't make me bring up toilet paper, because I will totally talk about how supply chain and toilet paper kind of mixes in there a little bit. And then also the plan to invest in talent to be able to digitize their businesses. And they also took this opportunity, 70% of them, to become more familiar with the processes that were inside of the business. So as a CIO, they could better advise solutions, understand things, and be able to drive decisions and inform moving forward. So those are reactions. Now let's talk about what those concerns are that came through these understandings. And we'll start at the bottom on this one. First and foremost, of course, is the financial impact that you're going to have from this situation. Those are results of liquidity and capital resources, but what type of, again, financial impact this is going to have on the businesses. Well over 70% listed that as a major concern, as well as the potential for global recession that could be caused by this pandemic. So there's not just current situation, but what is this going to cause? What is it going to look like going into the next few years, based on how this impacts the global economy? Effects on workforce, reduction in productivity. That's about 40% of the folks that stated that was a major concern to them, as well as we mentioned, supply chain disruptions, difficulties in fundings, and a good percentage of people as well found that they don't have enough information to make these decisions for today. And again, understanding going forward, what type of data, what type of insight they need in order to address these items. All right, awesome. So jumping forward, tech challenges that are being faced right now. Now, some of these items had previously existed and people are just now realizing it. They didn't understand that those weaknesses existed prior to COVID, but now they're seeing them kind of amplified because of the effects of those things. And then you also have challenges that arose because of the actual pandemic that are being dealt with from today going forward. And some of these include siloed data. That's kind of been a theme through the history of technology is, there can be a lot of different point solutions. There can be information housed in a lot of different locations, and it's hard to drive decisions if you don't have a unified data source. So that's definitely a challenge people have. Some others include keeping up with security, keeping consistent, intelligent insights. Very important is scaling that technology to face the growth, especially moving forward as the world kind of bounces back and continues. There's going to be very fast scaling in the technology that's going to need to take place. Also, secure work environment, continuity and disaster recovery was a big focus, and maximizing automation in those robotics, right? It's when these challenges come up, when there's impact on people, employees, you need to have as much automation in place where your business can keep running despite some of the challenges that are happening. So those are the major challenges that were found and pointed out. And moving along, we're going to talk about those trends, right? Sometimes from bad situations, it drives the world forward. It drives technology. It creates opportunity to move things forward and invest in things and really be able to create And so what we found here was that even though 60% of the manufacturers experienced major disruptions because of COVID, it absolutely accelerated the market to become more industrial and more resilient as well, where if something like this happens again in the future, they're more prepared to be able to deal with it and have less of an impact because of a situation like this. And then as well, the priorities, right? What is it that from what the pandemic caused, were we able to recognize and say, these are going to be our priorities moving forward based on the decisions that we need to make? And again, not surprising, supply chain integration was a big one. Operational resilience at 81%, again, making sure that you have that backup, you have those things in place to be able to continue operating. And improving the operational efficiency was a big one at 92%. That is going to be a major priority and focus for CIOs and other folks in that industry. And then, of course, you have customer growth. We want to get more customers on board. We want to, continue driving business, but it was also understood the priority of customer retention. In these types of situations, you need to keep the business you have. You need to make sure you're retaining revenue within your organization. And so it's very important that you focus on your current customers in addition to seeking additional and new business. So those are what we found were the top priority. Cool. So let's talk about actual investment and how people are going to dedicate resources, dedicate funding into improving their technologies. And so the chart you're looking at right here, it's the top line is they're going to invest more. The deep red is they're going to invest the same. And then the darker color there is they're going to invest less in these technologies. So blockchain, Internet of Things, there was a small desire to grow there. It actually had a reduction in interest to invest in. Data storage, again, also a little bit of growth. Artificial intelligence saw a lot of focus that businesses wanted to implement and invest more into AI technologies. Advanced analytics technologies, a big jump there at 19%. What we at Creatio like to see is there was a very big focus and desire to increase cloud-based technologies within businesses. In fact, a very slight number of people said they were going to reduce that, but 20% of folks said we need to invest more in cloud-based technologies. And then robotic process automation, workflow automation kind of circles back and brings it all home about how companies need to become more efficient. They need to become automated so they can better deal with any types of future occurrences like this moving forward. So now that brings us to the trends. What does this cause? What are people focusing on in this industry and where are we going with it? Selling direct to customers. This was obviously a major focus. It was a challenge that happened because of the pandemic, was how they get this product out, the hands that it passes through. So there's going to be a big move into direct to consumer models in order to be able to adapt to these things. Omnichannel is a differentiating reality, is what they have here. It was realized that companies can really increase their pipeline significantly, as much by 1.5 to 2 times by utilizing omnichannel lead generation. So again, making sure you're as efficient as possible and making the most out of what you have, as well as increasing automation, digital sales operations. It's a big focus. It was found that it can reduce sales costs by up to 25%, and also using data better. Being able to take the information you already have and apply that to decisions that you make going forward. And it's found you can potentially raise conversion rates by 20 to 30% by simply using the data more intelligently that you have. All right, perfect. And on this one, before I pass it off to Darren to talk about some of those specific technologies, if you're going to take a screenshot of anything during this presentation, this would probably be the one, because it's really what kind of summarizes those priorities for action and where the focus is going to go inside the industry. So those are the direct-to-consumer models, full power to business for inside sales, the driving data, driving lead management, analytics-based sales growth, as well as the full back-end automation, marketing optimization, and digitizing the workforce. So again, that's your snapshot right there if you're going to grab something from this. But from here, I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to my colleague, Darren. So Darren, let me get you to the right slide, my friend, and then I will I will let you jump in.
Well, thank you, Eric and Eric, for the introduction and talking about the challenges that many manufacturers experienced in the COVID era. And today, luckily enough, I actually didn't copy Eric's haircut for today's presentation. It's just the way things worked out. But I have been fortunate enough through my career to be able to walk through many manufacturing plants of, processing chicken and poultry parts in one of the largest brands here in America, high-tech avionics manufacturing locations. So as I've been able to walk the floors and hear the stories from a lot of manufacturers, these three technologies that we'll address right now really have become more pertinent and been accelerated, as Eric properly illustrated. So, let's roll on to the next one, Eric, and talk about some of, ultimately what the challenges of 2020 have really driven within a lot of organizations is a required adaptability and plasticity to current market challenges. So if you think about, the supply chain challenges that a lot of organizations have to deal, getting raw materials into their plants, actually, and thinking about how to process and manufacture those correctly, and then having your sales teams where they weren't able to go out and visit with a lot of organizations in person or go out to events and meet a lot of customers. A lot of that process and a lot of those challenges a lot of those changes have really driven organizations to adapt. And, the reliance on adapting internal processes has made organizations focus on real business processes and real drive to make sure that they can keep in contact with their customers. So you'll see organizations are spending a good bit more on digital transformation efforts. Let's automate, because any manufacturing building you've walked into, and these can be the most robust, technically advanced organizations, many times there's still a lot of processes that they do manually, and being able to automate those and clean that up. The challenges of 2020 drove a lot of organizations to do so, from largest manufacturers even down to smaller organizations that we work with. Also, go ahead, Eric. Let's move to the next one.
Yep.
All right, thanks. So as we talk about, what this efficiency and agility and productivity from a lot of organizations have done, what the COVID-19 pandemic did was really condense and drive a lot of organizations to adapt in a much quicker manner. If you think about many organizations drove people to work remotely in the last year because we couldn't work. But the manufacturing organizations still had to have people show up. But COVID-19 really sped up a lot of the transformations of how do we interact with our customers? How do we interact with new prospects? And so a lot of organizations had to drive different mannerisms and different ways to connect with different organizations out there. So, you can see over there, 70% of businesses increase their digital transformation spend during that process so that they could effectively enable customer retention efforts, but also reach new customers doing that process. And also, there's also been a shift overall in leadership as far as business executives coming out here and responding to this digital operational excellence. And we've seen a slow shift from IT organizations carrying the lead on many of these business initiatives, where the business executives get involved more in the process of the technology selection, but also how to deploy this. Let's make sure we map out our processes correctly. And many of these organizations find they need to drive not only speed, time to value, time to market in this process, but also increase productivity. And by doing so, they can get a competitive advantage against their peers. And, ultimately, why do we change our processes? Why do we need to adapt that? Well, there needs to be a couple of real benefits out of the process. And business leaders are looking for that type of competitive advantage in today's marketplace. So, and ultimately, we always like to highlight if there are, some challenges and why we do need to automate those business processes, there usually needs to be a good benefit as far as increasing revenues. The office of the CFO has become much more involved in making sure that organizations are spending properly as budgets were tightened during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, you'll see a lot of what does this process, how do we automate this, and what is this going to save us, or what is this going to increase our revenue process? And there have been some winners and losers during this pandemic timeframe. Ultimately, the people who have taken advantage of digital automation, digital processes, and digital transformation efforts have really driven and have higher not only net incomes in the process, but they've increased their revenue. You can see by 11.2% of the organizations who really engaged and took these engagements on as far as a digital transformation effort. So therefore, definite dollars and cents involvement in this process has really driven a lot of these changes. So let's transition over and start talking about 3 technologies here that help and assist this digital transformation process within your organizations. And it'll be fun to see everybody's feedback in the chat as far as, what you consider pertinent, because we will do a poll at the end in this process. But I also want to talk here a little bit about how low code enables a lot of this digital transformation. So ultimately, low code and business process management. If you think about, as you've walked into one of these large manufacturing organizations, and the teams that are involved are doing their production process, but there's always some gaps in manual processes that slow down and become bottlenecks during that manufacturing process. Allowing a low-code business process engine and automation can really drive a lot of efficiencies through the process and getting the products out to the market quicker. Another real benefit that we've seen that a lot of organizations have been deploying is there's increased adaptability needed. Customers are coming back and saying, you know what, I need this, but I need this at this point. They understand that there's some supply chain restrictions and some constraints that are happening currently, but by providing better customer service and by adapting quicker to what market changes are doing, that allows a lot of organizations to benefit from increased operational efficiencies. And another aspect is, because sometimes budgets were constrained during this time, we needed worker productivity to increase in that process. And by increasing worker productivity, you need to give them the tools so that they can operate at a more optimum manner. So therefore, really low code can help out and assist that process. The big one that we've heard a good bit, though, is the supply chain has been constrained. If you think nowadays, automotive manufacturers are dealing with not having enough chips to be able to produce all the electronics within their car, and streamlining. Consumers are understanding that there are constraints out there in the supply chain, but we need to give them the proper information at the right time. So having that visibility from origin of raw materials coming into the walls of our manufacturing facility, and then being able to predict and forecast appropriately when we'll be able to deliver those components that are so important that we're trying to provide to our clientele, that has become very paramount in this process. And then also organizations, there's IT skills that are involved in coding and development, but if we deploy low-code technologies that really can enable business users to be able to build their own business processes and adapt their teams in a quicker manner. So therefore, any business application they build and deploy can be done in a matter of days. It doesn't take weeks or months. So really speed their value. Also, artificial intelligence is a fun topic to talk about nowadays. We're not talking Skynet where it controls everything, but let's talk about how this can assist your organization in the process. One area we hear artificial intelligence really helping organizations is on the production lines. Of course, we're out there producing, but as I was telling you about that large chicken and poultry processing plant that they walked through, they estimated any time that their production line would go down, it would cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour when their production line is down. So unexpected and production line breakdowns are really costly to the organization. Artificial intelligence now, with internal sensors and the ability to monitor and manage and look at the machinery involved in the production line process, really can be enabled by artificial intelligence to say, oh, sensor here, this machine part in the production line is actually utilizing too much energy right now, and the temperatures are exceeding too high. So therefore, we can identify that part as coming down to its end of life. So let's come in and quickly replace that before we have an unexpected production line breakdown. Or, let's look at predictive maintenance schedules. So therefore, we can schedule out when this part likely will expire. So let's make sure that we can be ahead of the game and understand that, make sure that we don't have any unexpected downtimes. Also, artificial intelligence really has been able to help organizations predict better when they can deliver their products to their customers, and make sure that that process is moving correctly, because the consumers are understanding, but at the same time they need those products, and giving better insight and giving better forecast availability and telling them when it's going to show up has increased customer attention and trust. And therefore, there's been substantial artificial intelligence plays where it can predict more accurately when the items will show up. And then, of course, we can talk about planning across different departments and being able to forecast via AI technologies of how these interactions will happen, and making sure that everybody is in sync. So it really can enable a lot of help. And then the fifth component there is assisting with those manual tasks that we spoke to previously, the bottlenecks that don't happen. If we can automate some of those repetitive tasks, and where we've seen this really helpful is within marketing organizations. Many of them have started deploying automated chat features so that when the customer comes onto the website or interacts with the team, they can automate and answer a lot of their questions quickly and qualify those leads as potential buyers in a quicker manner. So artificial intelligence is fun there. Let's talk a little bit about machine learning. And I imagine we're going to have a question later on that will say, hey, Darren, what's the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? And we'll be happy to identify that here in a good bit. But machine learning really has helped organizations come in and understand their customer base better. What does this customer buy from us? When do they buy it, and why do they buy it? Now, if this customer is doing that, they have peers out there. Let's see how we can not only assist our customers, but let's look and see in the marketplace who are other organizations who have similar needs, and how can we market and talk to those people. So really, machine learning based upon information and data within our systems can allow us to not only help and assist our existing customers to provide them insights as to how we can help sell to them better, but also how can we sell to other organizations that are similar to this, and make sure that we continue to sell to them. Also, the supply chain management, we talked a good bit about, visibility and traceability in that process. So we can really model based upon data that we have in our system and forecast properly to make sure we deliver that, and improving the logistics that we do with any organization. So the machine learning and artificial intelligence, low code, all three of those technologies are very important for organizations to adapt.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Eric.
All right. Bye, guys. Hey, and welcome back. Great session. I'm always looking forward to the next session that we're having here, the real life no code experience. So we're going to be hearing today from Scott Wolf, Director of Sales and Operations at Teco Systems. And we're going to have a live experience with John Fennell, who is the Director of IT at KWI. And we're going to learn how KWI is leveraging, no code to overcome their challenges. So great session. This should be very interesting. Let's turn it over to Scott.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Scott Wolf. I'm the Director of Sales and Operations at Teco Systems. With me, I've got John Fennell, the Director of IT at KWI. Today, we're going to walk through a little bit of a customer success story. I hope everybody's enjoying Accelerate so far. We've got about 20 minutes. What I want to do today is walk through a little bit about some of the challenges that some of our manufacturing customers are facing and walk through how Creatio can hopefully help some of those. But the bulk of the 15 minutes that we have here, we're going to have kind of a Q&A where we're going to talk with John, and John's going to explain a little bit about what they're doing with Creatio and how Creatio has helped them in the last few months as they've been standing up. So with manufacturers, some of the challenges that we've seen as we've talked to some of our customers, and this is really big here in the States right now, is a hot issue with the job market, right? COVID really impacted a lot of the manufacturers with some of the trained workers on both sides, both the workers and the employees. We've seen a lot of turnover. And so that's been a real hot topic here in the news. And we've seen a lot of folks in the manufacturing space specifically try to backfill some of these open recs. Another issue we see is, about half, by this Kronos report, about half of employees really want to try to find a balance between home and work with the way technology is. Meaning, back in the day at work, you would always have your .NET or green screen ERPs that you'd work in, and then you'd go home and you'd have a user-friendly application at home. And what we've seen now is a better shift where when we're at work, we want user-friendly, intuitive applications. And I think 48% is a little low. Hopefully we can try to get that up with products like Creatio as it becomes more user-friendly. One of the things John's going to talk about in the bottom left that KWI had, and we see this across the board, even with customers, not necessarily even in manufacturing, is having users hunt and peck for data and finding information. And so they say by this Beekeeper report that on average, workers waste about 3 hours of time. Having a system like Creatio with different integrations that John will talk about will hopefully give time to users to be more productive. And then the last here, big core challenge that we'll be talking about is the fact that executives don't believe that they're equipping their workers with the best technologies to fulfill their roles. Of course, CRM being one of the gaps that we hope to fill, but give the executives the confidence in giving users best of breed Gartner Magic Quadrant industry leading applications like Creatio, giving them those tools so they can be successful. So those are kind of some of the pains that we see as we're talking to other manufacturers. And one of the things that Creatio affords and helps fix those problems is, giving folks improving sales processes, right? And so the first thing is giving data between disparate departments. One of the things we talk about is, having sales, service, marketing, everybody in theory is talking to the same customers. And it goes to that, wasting time searching for data. If we have disparate departments talking to the same customers, let's give everybody a single source of truth. And we, I know that was one thing for John and Derek at the KWI team, and we'll talk about, was getting real-time access to reports. And so the folks can make, and the executives can make good decisions. And so, a tool like Creatio will help with that. As well as giving reports in AI and predictive lead scoring. Hopefully we'll be leveraging more with leads with KWI, and we'll talk about that, but giving the ability to do some ML and AI for lead scoring. And of course, everything built on a low code, no code platform. So the team at KWI is able to configure the system a little bit themselves. So with that being said, those were some of the problems that some of the manufacturers have seen, and hopefully how then Creatio can help overcome those. I want to spend the remainder here interviewing John a little bit. So by way of introductions, again, my name is Scott Wolf. So Teco Systems is a West Coast Creatio business partner. We have a strong customer base in manufacturing and distribution. And with me is my friend John. John is the director of IT at KWI. John, just for the folks that are listening in here for the first time here, pass the baton to you. Maybe give a little intro of yourself and a little bit about KWI.
Sure, I'm IT director for KWI International. We're a company been operating for 57 years. We're a fabrication and manufacturing company that supports the oil and gas industry. We build pressure vessels, DHI equipment, filter separators, skids, large number of Orphis meters. We're also ASME code certified and support the upstream, midstream, and downstream markets with both custom packages and as well as stock program.
Awesome. So we'll get to the benefits of Creatio, I guess, in a few minutes, and some of the things you guys have seen. But you guys have been a customer of ours for about 5 months now, I think, and have been using it. I remember working through the sales cycle with you and the enterprise team. Maybe you can tell some of the folks that may be experiencing the same pains. Can you talk about the processes before Creatio was implemented,
Sure.
and how you guys were doing some forecasting and running some disparate systems? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so historically, the operating and sales team, they mainly worked from Excel and SharePoint, and really the forecast for like the week over week and future sales pipeline was really difficult, especially when every person had their own spreadsheet that deal with their own opportunities and quoting. And of course we have our ERP solution, but it was all kind of a mixed bag and is really hard to pin up on one board or one pane of glass to give you that really nice seamless outlook.
Yeah, I remember through the front end sales cycle, might have been with Derek, the VP of sales. He showed me some of the aggregation he has of the Friday afternoon. He was emailing every sales rep, "What's your forecast?" And for lack of a better term, the redundancy, right? Like managing everything out of a spreadsheet across your different divisions, because you do have locations that do wildly different things. He said that was a pretty big, we talked about 3 hours being wasted for disparate data, but let's talk about, the hours that were just consolidating data.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know when we were chatting with you guys, you were looking at different CRM vendors that are out there. We went through a pretty good sales cycle with you. Can you talk about, I'm sure in the IT, you could probably lean the value with some of the integrations into your ERP and others, but were there a few things that caught your guys' attention and why you guys decided to go forward with Creatio?
Sure. So the main reason that we landed on Creatio or even come about seeing Creatio was we were in the market for a low no code application of sorts. And so that actually steered us into the Creatio realm. And then it fell in place. It was kind of perfect solution for what we were looking for. Something that wasn't out of the box and you only get what's out of the box, but something that can be very customized with not a lot of effort long term, and honestly just kind of cover all sockets of what we were looking for from a CRM.
Yeah, I know in the manufacturing space, there's often, when you're looking at an application, to your point, the other software vendors will say, this is the way the software works. You need to change your business to fit
exactly
how the software works.
Exactly. That's not what we were wanting at all. And something that would give us good insights and dashboards on top of it. We've used other products in the past to kind of string things together, but it's nice having a single pane of glass for the executive team and the sales team all in one place.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I think through some of the training we did, I'm really glad to see when we log into your environment periodically, I'll see some cool enhancements. I think even Nick's, one of your power admins, like a sales guy's going in there and he's written some really great dashboards for himself, and Derek's getting some good reports that you guys are able to write for yourself. That's
absolutely
powerful. So that's actually a good guidepost. I know you guys have only been live for a few months now. Can you talk a little bit about the onboarding process as far as, after the decision has been made, how training's been going? You've got all your sales guys using it now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been really nice. We like to have a few things in place for obviously our guys' ease of use. So single sign-on, the email import, all those types of things have drastically helped everybody kind of put everything in that single pane of glass. But as far as the onboarding and everything, you guys have been really good at not only adapting to like the one sales guy that's kind of become the power user, but also be able to handhold some other folks that are slow learners. And to be honest, it hasn't been that difficult just because of the easy use of the program in general.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And that's to the point. Yeah. Where I'll see sometimes I come in new fields, new processes. I think you guys updated the DCM on your own. So that's fantastic. Working with other manufacturers, one of the big things we hear sometimes is the need for forecast and demand and production, right? Where we talked about forecasting ops, but what you guys do with these big multi-million-dollar opportunities is doing, forecasting production on the back end after the op is won. Derek and I, when we met, we worked to work on forecasting. And I think one of the more recent enhancements we've made is this ability to, take an opportunity and get some other folks involved with the quoting and the RFQ, right? You guys have a kind of this configuration process. I don't know if you can talk about that a little bit with me.
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, our quoting process has always been email health, for lack of a better term. Everybody flings emails, threads all over the place. And so one of the things that we've tried to do with the tracker is to basically see when an opportunity flows through to the quote side, it actually auto commissions and sends out the notifications to who needs to go in and do it. And then also it allows us to track our quoting process along the way and allow salesmen to see where their quoting process is in place today. Now they had that before, but again, it was, where do I go? I need a navigation map just to find what piece of the puzzle I'm looking for. And not always, even in that point, it was easily found. So this is, again, kind of bringing it to a single pane of glass, not just for the sales team, but for the operations team. And then also on the back end of that, because Creatio is a very nice tool to leverage in this function. Yeah. We're also bringing in the ability to configure our products within using some other third-party plugin type of programs that will allow us to kick in a full-time, like a full order straight into our ERP system, all while the user just sees the front end of Creatio, and then obviously our ERP side of the house uses the ERP. Nobody sees the in between, but all the magic's happening because of the low no code ability to program those measures into force feeding our ERP.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I appreciate you explaining that flow, because that's kind of the utopia we're really working with, and that you guys will see is that the sales user, whether it's Nick or Derek or whomever, really lives in one view. They don't have to jump into your ERP to generate a quote. They can be as productive and live in their world. And then we're just going to let, the BPM engine of Creatio run the automation of kitting, bringing in all of your products, customer inventory availability, all that stuff that you guys are going to want. They'll have that right at their fingertips, and they're not going to have to jump between system and system, right? They'll get that right in one view.
Absolutely.
I know we've got a lot of really great enhancements. I think, a good roadmap with your team of better integration into the Business Central, and whether it be some of the RFQ stuff, mobility. Thank gosh, we're all starting to travel more, and I know you guys are, down there in Texas traveling a ton. So we've got some good enhancements. But John, I appreciate your time this afternoon. We wanted to give some of the folks that maybe are in the market to look at Creatio, that are in your industry, kind of a good flow, good process of your evaluation process. And some of the benefits you guys are getting. And we're really excited maybe next year, the year after, to do a good future state interview with you again when we've got all these other things done. So John, as your partner, I want to formally thank you for doing this, and hope everybody that's here on the recording, hopefully you guys have a great rest of Accelerate. Look forward to chatting with everybody at our booth when they decide to show up. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right. What an amazing success story. Thank you very much, Scott and John. Thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. Just to keep the momentum going, we are going to have another real-life no-code experience, and we're joined today by the team at Solutions Metrics. So we have Sebastian, Marc-Olivier, and Ahmad joining us, and they'll be speaking with Brad Wilson, who is the president of Complete Filters, Inc. And we're going to learn how they were able to, to help surveyor filters, gain a competitive advantage using no code. So let's turn it over to the solutions metrics team.
Hi, Brad. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, everyone. So we'll just start for maybe a quick roundtable about this use case on low code, no code. So maybe you can start, Marc-Olivier, by presenting yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get started. So my name is Marc-Olivier Bourdeau. I'm marketing manager at Solutions Metrics, and we're really happy to be part of the Accelerate Creatio's Accelerate 2021 event. And especially today is a big day for since we're going to be speaking about the manufacturing industry. Hence why we decided to ask Brad, one of our clients, to come and speak to us about his project we did together. So Brad, thanks again for being here. Ahmed, maybe a short intro. Tell us about a bit about yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Ahmed from Solution Metrics. I'm the customer success manager. I'm the relationship between the customer and the company. I'm doing a lot of work with the existing customer, getting over the different project and making sure that all our customers are happy. So thank you, Sebastian.
Excellent. And so they are. And thank you, Brad, again for being with us. Maybe a quick introduction about yourself.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm one of your happy customers. I love Solutions Matrix. We had some challenges, and you guys really came through and solved all of our issues, and it's doing everything we had hoped it would do for us. So we're thrilled.
That's great. That's great. And maybe you can tell us a bit about the history of Complete and
Sure.
Business.
Sure. Yeah, we're a manufacturer. We make a consumable product, and it's sold business to business. So we sell to other manufacturers. It's a filter product that's used in the manufacturing process in the finishing industry. We're in Orangeville, Ontario. We've been growing a lot in the last several years, and growing to the point where it was hard for us to effectively take care of our customers. So, years ago, our problem was always sales. And then more recently, it's been managing growth and taking care of the customers that we have. And so our CRM program really helps us to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And maybe I personally know it working with you, but maybe you can speak about how you're using Creatio internally.
Sure.
The different things we've done. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, no, it was great that all of our salespeople, customer service, purchasing, we all use Creatio. And one of the unique things that I really wanted Creatio to do for us was to track our customers' order history and to communicate with our customers directly, so we didn't have to get involved. Like years ago, I had a spreadsheet, and if someone placed an order, I would make a note in the spreadsheet, and then I'd look at the sheet and think, they're probably due to order. I should give them a call, right? And so you get to a certain size, you can't do that effectively anymore. And so it got to the point where we'd be scratching our head. Oh, it wasn't, so-and-so. They haven't ordered for a while. Are they due to order? And we'd look it up. Oh, yeah, they're due to order. And we'd give them a call, which is not the way to do it. So my plant manager, Drew, he came up with this slogan, and it is never remember anything. And so that's our slogan. But we don't have to, we don't want to rely on someone to remember something. Like our customers, they're all, like, we don't have a cookie cutter here. They're all, we call them snowflakes, right? Because every snowflake is different. And so, customers that need a special packaging or a special filter for some reason, special delivery time, all those things, as you grow, you can't remember, and you shouldn't have to remember. It's all in Creatio now. So, and everyone's got access to Creatio. So that really helped us too. And just, and it's great because it's all been kind of customized by Solutions Matrix to match what we wanted, right? So we input the orders specific to the customer, and then as far as the prompting to them to reorder, right? So Creatio decides based on the formula that we worked out, that a customer, their order history and their order pattern, and it predicts in advance when they should be ordering again. And that's the best part of Creatio. And so regularly these notifications go out, and they're just a friendly letter, hi, so-and-so customer, our records show that you may be due to reorder this product. You might want to check stock and give us a call. And they're timely, right? They're timed based on the history. And so very often we get customers who respond right away, say, oh, thank you for reminding me. Yes, we need to place an order. Here's the order, or whatever. Or they might respond by saying, we're having a shutdown for the next 3 weeks. So yeah, we're going to order, but not till after our shutdown. So don't worry, kind of thing. I don't think we ever got an email back saying, please stop sending these, right? Stop bugging me, right? That was a concern, right? But quite the opposite. Our customers know that we are concerned. We love them. I always say, we know their needs better than they do, right? So anyway, so it's all working out very well for us, and it allows us to communicate with all of our customers effectively, way better, like through Creatio, way better than we could do it on our own with that old spreadsheet or just trying to remember. Right.
And I guess it helps you guys a lot organizing your processes and knowing in advance the production that you'll need to be doing, because I'm not an expert in this industry, but I guess before you did this project, I'm sure customers would call you when they didn't have any more in stock, and then they would call you and be like, hey, we need that amount of filters, like urgent, and please, I need them by tomorrow. And then everyone would go crazy and then go in production, I guess. So I guess that process really helps you figuring out in advance and planning in advance the resources, and make sure that the delivery is made on time, and there's no more panic mode, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, so not only on the customer service side, but on the production side, right? So Drew, my plant manager, he has, he can look at a report showing what product he should be making over the next month or 2 months or whatever, right? What is due to be sold, and then he can produce it and keep it on the floor, right? So yeah, it's effective on the production side as well as on the sales and customer service side. And we just hired a new purchasing person, a new supply chain manager, right? Like that's the new thing, is supply chain. And so, and I'm saying to her, in the past, we would set up a vendor. I would usually do that, negotiate the pricing, set up the vendor for our raw materials, and then we just forget about it and just keep ordering, right? It was a very mechanical process. But in today's environment, with supply chain, number one, you got to find alternate suppliers. They're all maxed out in capacity. So it's like a reverse sales job, right? So you got to go and actively pursue the vendors, right? And beg them to sell to you, right? And ask them for samples, right? And go through that whole process. And so Lynn, our new purchasing and supply chain person, so I said, you got to get into the Creatio and start inputting all these potential vendors and do that whole sales cycle, but on the purchasing side, right? So that's been really good because, we get in a crisis every couple of years. We've run out of supply, and I'm scratching my head, who are those guys we talked to 2 years ago that might have been able to help us, right? Like I've got to do the research again. And So if it's in Creatio, it's just way better, and I'm looking forward to getting the supply chain vendors in Creatio so that we can just contact them and do all that research and make all the notes, and so in case I get hit by a bus or whatever, right, we have all that information.
Let's not hope that happens, but it's always good to plan.
And, it's a good example of, I hear you talking, and what I'm hearing is you really want personalized customer experience on your side. When you say, you use the expression snowflake, every customer is unique and you want to be able to serve them in a very special manner. So, and I know we've been interacting and the privilege to work with you before COVID, right? And that's funny because that theme actually really rised up during COVID, because lots of businesses understood the importance of the customer experience, right? And the privilege of having a great relationship with our customer and be able to serve them in a very personalized manner, in a unique way. So I have a question, and we didn't talk about this before, but what was your retention rate during COVID? Because you're in excellence in customer experience of customers.
No, we keep most of our customers long term, and COVID hasn't affected that. We've been super busy through COVID. A lot of our it's the manufacturing industry, but also housing and construction, and so those industries are very busy, and so we've been really busy. And I just got to say one other thing that Creatio does, like, if there is a problem with a customer, right? Like we've shipped with a certain trucking company and they failed, right? And so we make a note, we make an issue in Creatio, an official kind of issue, and then it tracks that, right? So then we know when that customer orders again, hey, they need this special attention on this issue, right? And then if we mess up twice within 90 days, I get a notification saying, we've messed up on this customer twice. And so it's escalated, right? So, a one-time issue, I'm not involved. I think a two-time issue. Also with if customers stop ordering, right? So then our salesperson, whoever the specific salesperson is, gets a notification. Hey, Creatio is telling us they've stopped ordering and they're at risk, right? And then if they're at risk for a while and it's not resolved, then it goes to a higher level, right? And I get an email, and so then I'm on the salespeople. Hey, take care of this, right? So, so it's very effective at never remember anything. It's very good that way, and able to take care of our customers. That's the bottom line, right? So.
And
I love that slogan, never remember anything. I think it's really fits your process.
It's good. And I remember when we engage, and let's talk a bit about the power of low code, no code. I remember when we first talked, you were a little you had an experience with a previous partner that didn't go well, so you were kind of I understood it, because they say once bitten, twice shy. So you went a little. So we're a great partner of Creatio, and you work with one of our guys, Oliver, who knows and certified on the platform, and others. So maybe you can talk about how fast we're able to do that, and how quickly we and we're on time and budget. So so maybe you can talk about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, yeah. I did have a partner to start out the process, and it was not working out well at all. He didn't seem to have the critical mass that Solutions Matrix has, as far as, the programming and the support and everything. And Oliver, I can't say enough about Oliver. He was so good to work with and very attentive, and could pick up what we were laying down, and implemented it beautifully, right? And so Oliver was just tremendous throughout the whole process, on the technical side and the programming side, the modification to make it suit what we needed, right? And so, yeah, you guys, it was like, like night and day. It was a breath of fresh air, and because I kind of had the vision of what I wanted, and I just, the first guy, he couldn't implement it, right? But you guys did beautifully, went beyond what I hoped for. So. Well done.
A big shout out to Oliver if he's listening right now.
Yeah.
Good job,
Yeah.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Perfect. And also he was able to, so for all people listening, Oliver is not a developer. So he's really good with technology, but he's not a developer per se. So that's a good example of what Creatio no code or low code enables is for business people that loves technology like Oliver. So that's why when you spoke with Oliver, you got it, right? So he understood what you were looking for, and without having to code and open an IT project with a development lifecycle, he was able to customize the platform and adapt it to your need. And even we talked about the predictive of your customer inventory. So that's also a good thing about low code. So that's great. And I think our time is close to be finished now. But I just want to maybe conclude and first thanking you, but how appreciative we are that you represent a great customer experience, because on everything you said today, it's all about giving extraordinary customer experience to your customers. So, so we're super proud to be your partner in that, because that's also, I'm joking by saying at Solution Metrics, our customer is not king, it's our customers that are king. So we work with you. So, so I think you embrace those values as well. So perfect. Thank you so much, Brad. Thanks everyone for being with us, and looking forward for our next talk.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Excellent. What another great story of how to leverage no code, to gain that competitive advantage. Sebastian, Solution Metrics team, thank you very much for that great session. And we've got another great session lined up for you now. We're going to be joined by Jenny Beer, who is one of our senior solution engineers here at Creatio, and Jenny will be walking through how to leverage no code to streamline the quoting processes within manufacturing and distribution. We know that the quoting process can be cumbersome. So how do we use no code to make that process more streamlined and automated? Jenny, I will turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the Accelerate Global event. Hopefully it has been an informative event so far. And thank you for joining me today. My name is Jenny Beer, and I am a senior solutions engineer with Creatio. And you are in the streamlining the quoting process with no code session. So we are going to get right into Creatio and look at how you can use quotes with opportunities, contacts, and accounts, and how you can do all of that without code and without having to rekey data. So let's go ahead and get right into Creatio and take a look at how we can do that. So first, I want to point out that we are in the sales product, and we are in the opportunity section. So we have an opportunity open here for a custom product C. And you'll see that in our workflow across the top, in terms of when we are selling these kinds of custom products, in this particular example, we have a new opportunity that goes to a sample request. If that sample is then approved through the evaluation process, you then are designed in, and then you can produce a specific quote to the customer for that particular custom design. And that's the stage that we are at right now. So you can see that we have this prepare quote, and we have this task. And after that, then of course, we can go to the next stages all the way through, hopefully, to closed won. Now, the stages that you have might be very different. It doesn't really matter when the quote when the quote happens in the process, the point is that you want to be able to bring in information about your products. You want to automatically link that to the opportunity and to the contact and the account. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Here in our opportunity, in this particular example, we have some opportunity details here about the particular opportunity, about the team that might be working on that. We also have that this is for Alpha Business, and then some information about maybe what they're interested in. On the products and quotes section is where we are going to start appending some information about our quote. So we can generate a new quote in a couple of ways. We can use this plus button in order to add a new quote for this opportunity. You also can do something like this green button that says new order. This could be a new quote. You can get to it through the actions menu or through the run process drop down. So you have a number of ways. It just depends on how your users would like to most easily access this. You also, before we generate that quote, I want to point out that this products part is empty. In this scenario, we're going to generate a quote with the particular elements for our custom product. And then we are going to populate the products in the opportunity from the selected quote, the one that gets approved. You can also go about this the opposite way. So maybe there are certain products that they are interested in from the beginning, and you want to list out what those products might be. And then you want to, at some point, they refine their choices, and you want to generate a quote for all of the products that you initially talked about, or maybe just, A, B, and D of those products. So in this case, we're going to do the quote first and populate the product information afterward. So I am going to choose to generate a quote from this process, and I will then from there be able to go through the quote workflow. So just as the opportunity can have stages, the quote can also have stages. So in this case, right, we have a draft, and this allows me to work on this quote without having to finish it right away. Sometimes these can be really detailed. You might want to start something and come back, and that's totally fine. So here, my first task is to add the products to the quote. And so you'll see that we have quote number 27 for Alpha Business. So this is an automatic counter. We've done business with Alpha Business before. So this is just giving us a unique identifier for Alpha Business. You could also give this a custom name if you wanted to, or a custom number. It's automatically linked to Alpha Business, who was the customer in that opportunity, also automatically links to our opportunity. It's showing me as the owner because I'm logged in as John Best, and then it's the default status is to draft. And the total will populate based on the information we include about our products. So the point of these products for, for manufacturing or for distributors, or for those of you who have custom products or customized features around a product, is that you want to be able to easily access your product catalog. And we can do that here with the plus button. This will allow us to access our product catalog, and you can actually configure this product catalog with a number of different folders. So you can have different sections within your catalog, and you can access all of those different sections right here easily in Creatio. This can be populated from your product catalog in Creatio, or is populated from your product catalog in Creatio, and this can actually be the source of truth. Or this product catalog can actually be populated from your ERP. So it really depends on how you're using those two systems, which one you want to be the source of truth for product information. This can also include, we have some basic information here about name, price. We're going to select the quantity. It's telling me what the units of measure are so that then we can calculate a total. But you could certainly have additional information here visible in this product selection experience for the user. So you could have descriptions. And if this is coming from your ERP, it might be something that's updated in real time when I access this catalog, or it could be something that's just updated nightly, depending on how dynamic this information is. But here then I can select the quantity. So maybe I need, a couple of these. I need all of these additional pieces, plus we're going to have some licenses, and things can even be calculated in maybe hours of work if you are talking about configuration. And then, of course, if I have other sections in my product catalog, I can access those other sections right here in my quote builder. So I can navigate between all of these folders without losing any of the information here at all in one experience. So it's very streamlined for the user. Also all validated data, which is really important. Nobody can make a mistake when doing their math, which I for sure would do if you left it just to me. So now I bring in all of my products and I bring in those quantities, I bring in the price, and we calculate those totals. So all of that is listed here. All notes that it is for quote number 27. So I can say that I've completed this task of adding the products to my quote. So I will mark this as complete. And when I do that, it's automatically moved to submitted. And now it is opening an automatic email for me. So we assume that if you generate a quote, you would probably like to share that quote with the customer, and you would like to streamline that as much as possible. So in this example, we've automatically created an email template that says that a new quote is prepared for you. It's brought in the contact on the opportunities that was related to that account so that I can say, that this is generated for you. And then it has also already created an attachment with my quote. So we have taken those 3 line items that we had for our quote that we selected from our product catalog and generated a printable here. This is a Word document. Obviously, it could be a PDF, but it has put it as an attachment to my email. So when I send this email, my customer is going to get this nicely branded message and then automatically have this attachment with my quote. And just to see what that looks like, you are able to customize your template in any design that you would like, and then upload that as the example that will be used. So we can wait for my computer to think, and then you'll see we have this branded document that brings in those line items, including the total and any other fields like description that I may have wanted to include or notes. All right, so we automatically generated this email. I can further refine this message if I want to. It already has the attachment. This email could actually have just been automatically sent without any manual intervention. This portion is here just in case you would want anybody to do any last minute changes in adjusting this email before you click send. And then I would just click send and we would have a record of this email being sent to the customer. Since this is just a demo, I'm going to go ahead in this general information and just manually say that I have sent this email. So I'm going to mark this as complete so that we can see what happens next. So I would send this email and we have a record of the fact that I have sent this now to the customer. So we know that the customer received that quote. And now our status has changed to submitted. So we, in a very short order, were able to select from an updated product catalog, automatically calculate all the information, and then seamlessly send that to the customer as a nicely formatted document. Now, you may have approval processes with your quotes as well. And so you'll see that we have an approval required task, which has automatically been generated for this quote. So you probably want to do this approval before you send this off to the customer, but for the sake of this demo, we just put it afterward. You can have this approval be triggered on some specific business rules. So it might be that maybe I've offered this particular customer special pricing and I've gone some percentage discount, at which point there's a threshold that requires me to get automatic approval. And then I'm not able to progress to the sending to the customer until I receive that approval. You can build in those business rules, and then as the manager, or maybe it's the finance team or the sales director, whatever either role, team, individual should receive that approval notification, will get this in their queue to be able to see that this is a quote that requires their approval. And then when they open it up, they have all the information here. You could include some notes about maybe why you offered that particular discount. And then they're able to easily approve, reject. You could also say, that route it back for changes. And then all of this will be automatically updated. So maybe once I click approve, it will automatically send that information to the customer. All those business rules you can easily configure without code. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and say that I have logged in. We'll pretend as the supervisor, and I will go ahead and click approve. This automatically changes my status to approve, and I'm just going to make sure that my quote is saved. And now if we go and close this out, we will see that this has been amended to the opportunity. So now you can see that I have my quote here for number 27 for Alpha Business. The status of that shows as approved. And now all of my products on this opportunity have been populated so that I can go on to the next stage. We already actually advanced to the next stage of design win. And now I can connect with my customer to define some more of the details around this product in order to move to the mass production plan. Now, I realize that you may need to have more than one quote for opportunities. Often, if you are negotiating back and forth, you may want to have additional, and you want to be able to see which one did they select and which one, which were the previous options. That's very easy. You are not limited to a single quote in Creatio. So even though, we approved this one, let's just say that for some reason we needed to have another one. We can go through that exact same process again and be able to create a new quote. The number automatically is generated. Of course, we are time stamping with the date and time of these quotes as they are created. So we will know that this is the newer one. And then I can go ahead and add some products in again, and we will just do this very quickly for the purpose of this demo. And maybe we'll increase the licenses as well. We'll save our new quote. And then in this case, I'm just going to save it as draft. And then we will close that. And now we are able to see the new quote has been added. Since we gave our system a little time, you'll see that the total for the previous quote now shows as well. And so you'll see that our latest quote is here. So there's no limit to the number of quotes. You would be able to know, obviously, the time in which was the most recent, and then you are automatically tracking the status as well. So you would be able to see how many you had submitted and the customer had maybe rejected, or the one that the customer has then approved. One of the last pieces that I want to highlight is the ability to define some of the automation that we saw, such as the automatic sending of an email. We were able to configure that also without code through Creatio Studio. In Studio, you were able to define business processes, and that can be something that happens behind the scenes, such as preparing that email. In the process library, you'll see I already have filtered here for quotes, and we have a couple of different processes that we use in this example, and I want to show you this send email with quote attachment. So this is what we use to generate that printable or that Word document of the quote and to pre-configure the email. So this is the start. And when we said on the start of that stage that we were ready to send the email, we then kicked off a process to read the quote, to determine all of the line items that are in that quote. We then put those into a printable. We generated a document. And then we did two things. We prepped the email with the quote as an attachment. And then we also set up a follow-up task to remind the sales rep in 2 days to follow up on that quote. So obviously you sent it out into the ether and you want to make sure that you don't let that sit there for too long. So we created a task to follow up in 2 days that would then show up in the salesperson's dashboard. And finally, because you have all of this information in Creatio, you are then also able to use that in some of the dashboards and reporting that can be helpful for following up on all of these quotes. So if we take a look at the dashboards here in this example, you'll see that we have one for opportunities and quotes management. And then here we can see here if there are opportunities that do not yet have a quote. So they might be in that quote stage, but nobody has produced a quote yet. And you could have some information about those opportunities, like how long they've been in that stage. And that can send an alert because we want to make sure that we're getting those quotes out the door. You might also be able to report on, or would like to report on, things about like the total quoted amount for the current quarter versus what you quoted previous quarter. And certainly in our demo example, this would be something to follow up on. But you can have, information here. You also would be able to obviously have the like the to-do list to follow up on quotes that have been outstanding for more than 2 days. Because it's all in Creatio, you have a single space so that those quotes don't get lost. And then you know that they were sent with the right data in the first place. I do want to just take a moment and see if there are any questions in the chat before we wrap up today. There was a question here about how easy or difficult it can be to get all of the users to adopt a new solution such as this. What we've heard from our customers is that it can actually be pretty easy to have users adopt Creatio as for a new quoting process. Nobody loves process change, but with Creatio, you are able to design this to match your existing process as much as possible, assuming that that process works and you don't want to redesign it. You can also match those fields to be named and even visually structured the same as whatever form or system you might be using now. And so you can minimize the adoption difficulties by being able to produce something that is very streamlined and as familiar as possible. Maybe you need to redesign it because your existing process isn't working, which means they would be even more likely to adopt this because you can make it more efficient than what they might be doing now. I think the other big key factor in user adoption is that we're eliminating data re-entry, which everyone hates. And so by making this streamlined, by eliminating re-keying, people are generally happy to have something that's working more efficiently for them. I think with that, we are going to wrap up for this session. Thank you very much for joining this session about streamlining the quoting process. I hope you find this and the rest of the event very informative.
I think we got some background noise there, but that's all right. What a wonderful presentation from Jenny. We were able to take a look at that quoting process and how no code will be able to build those processes just like Lego blocks. So amazing presentation. Thank you very much, Jenny. And we're moving into our digital circle session, and I'm joined today by David Damon. David, happy to see you again. And we're also joined by Rashan Gunaratne. How are you, Rashan?
Doing good. Thanks, Eric.
Excellent. Rashan is joining us from Mitra Innovations, and Davey Damon is with our partner WebRix. So it should be a lively conversation today, guys, on the challenges with the manufacturing industry today and how we can overcome those with no code.
Exactly.
Excellent. Yep. All right. Well, why don't we just jump right into it and start to talk about those challenges? We know that we've experienced a lot of disruption over the last year and a half or even up to 2 years, and we know that is probably going to continue as we move into the future. What do you guys see as the biggest challenges that manufacturers and distributors are experiencing today? And then maybe we can start to talk about some of the trends that we see affecting them going into the future. So I don't know who wants to start. I'll throw it up there like a jump ball, and whoever wants to grab it, go right ahead.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. I think in the first place, as you said, COVID-related issues such as new procedures and protocols on the manufacturing shop floor will have a big effect. We see that getting people onto the floor for their shift these days will take several layers of complexity with temperature checks and spacing for workers for safety, etc. It also means that products have to be kept safe, especially those in the food industry. Right? And all these new measures slow down production lines and aid into the efficiency and productivity. So it's an ongoing issue for a lot of manufacturers. And secondly, the automation. Automation already prevails prevalent in the manufacturing industry, but we see that during COVID, artificial intelligence took a new importance priority. Because if you have robots on the production line, you don't need to worry about social distancing and temperature check and the absence because of illness. Work slowdowns and the whole host of other COVID-borne challenges will fix themselves with automation. And this trend obviously won't go away for probably a few years. We don't know how long this is still going to take, but those are a few of the challenges. And I think if you look at things like working from home, right? I think a lot of you guys, and I haven't been in the office for 2 years, so a lot of people are working at home. And obviously employees on the production line are not able to work at home, but the people in support position and the office can. And I think nowadays everybody's comfortable with Zoom, Teams, and other online meeting software. So those are a few challenges. Also think about supply chains, right? We saw the disruption from supply chains in China during the pandemic. Manufacturers needed to find other sources of materials and products. And where can we get our sources from when the borders close again? I think
so that's a good sorry, Davey, that's a really good point, because I wanted to touch upon that initial thing that you stated, because actually when this pandemic started, I think everyone sort of hit a blank wall because they did not know or have the processes on how to vet the individuals, to check for vaccinations, temperature checks, etc., because they just did not have this ability or the agility to move with this new system, right? I mean, a lot of companies went ahead and tried to build their own personalized bespoke applications, which by the time they actually came out, it was no longer needed. So, which is one of the key addressing points that we are trying to talk about on this low-code approach, right? Because everyone who actually had this platform was able to immediately incorporate this into part of their actual day-to-day work process. So, including the temperature checks, because that can be an IoT device that you can actually capture it, bring it into this platform. And so right then and there, you can enable, disable their entry points, check their access levels. And, it's about how quickly you can adapt to black swan events, like, pandemics, unplanned events. No one plans for a pandemic. I don't think anyone in the world did, nor will anyone. So it's purely about how quickly you can adapt to the changing environment. And so that created a completely new ecosystem from the consumer's point of view as well, because then suddenly online sales went up, and all the retail channels that were traditional, the brick and mortar models, just completely went out the window because they just did not have the ability to change. But this does not mean that that is the only way, right? So because there is a lot of companies that succeeded, blossomed, I would say, like really boomed during this time, simply because they were not siloed, they were not structured, they were not fixed by vendor lock-in or application level blocking in, etc. So they were able to really quickly adapt their marketing strategies, how they approach, and especially their business processes, how quickly you can change them. So, the traditional sense of doing things is like you spend like 3 months, 6 months trying to design, understand what the application is, and then you spend another 6 months building it, and probably another 6 months evaluating it. So from the time of inception to the time of production, you're talking about maybe 2 years, by which time it's probably not even, probably not even relevant, right? But with the low-code approach, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, we were talking about this, right, Davey, in the breakout as well. It's just mind-boggling, because I've been in this industry for close to 20 years, and the velocity of how quickly we actually build solutions from thought, from imagining something to actually going into production is literally weeks. When you look at these project plans, I mean, sometimes even the clients ask us, is this right? Have you got is this in months or is it weeks? No, this is definitely weeks. Yeah. Because it's how quickly we adapt to these things, right? I mean, that's the key enabler in the current environment, how quickly you adapt. And that is what's going to be the differentiator between those who are left behind and the ones who are going to lead from the front.
That's right. Yeah, I would agree with both of those statements. I even look at it, taking it a step further, and one of the trends that, we see, here at Creatio is that within manufacturing and distribution, there's also a growing skills gap as well, right? Like, so you've got an older community retiring. You've got a younger community that, isn't necessarily pushing towards those manufacturing jobs right now. And there's the skill gap, right? There's going to be more positions within manufacturing and distribution than there are people to fill those roles. So it's going to be key to be able to, automate processes, be able to streamline, workflows within, that industry, because you got to find ways to become more efficient in your operations. You have to be able to think of that skills gap as well. So I think that that's a big trend that we have to monitor, and we have to help figure out ways to streamline that and make it more efficient as well.
Yeah, and not only via software, but also obviously robots, right? So actually sometimes call them cobots, your co-workers. In the new age. Yeah.
Perfect. So I mean, I guess cobots kind of builds into the whole, Creatio aspect as well, because it inculcates a citizen developer, because we are not talking about, specialized software developers, etc. These like actual business users who knows the business, and now you can actually just dynamically configure these things, which is the same concept behind the cobots, which is, the person who's at the front line, who's on the line himself, can say, you know what, we need to make these metric changes, because at the end of the day, analysis can be done, specialists, everyone else can say something else, but it's the person on the ground, the boots on the ground. They're the ones who actually know what's actually happening at the ground level. So they can make those changes, right? So I mean, that's the same thing that kind of translates into when you're managing your workflows, your business processes, etc. Nobody knows the process better than the person who actually does it, right? And to enable them to implement this and take this to market, where you're actually going to retrieve the business value. I mean, this is something that was the initial gap that was there between, the developer, the designer, the implementer, the production, etc., and the user. So that entire thing can be sort of cohesed and brought into a singular platform, a singular landscape where it's visible to everybody. And I think Eric, I think this was brought up, I think, in some other question as well that was mentioned earlier about how to ingest the information that is presently available. Because right now, I think in any production line, all the automotive all the automated sort of machinery, they sort of generate a lot of analytics. There are MTBFs, there are performance levels, any kind of impending issues, whatnot. But one of the other aspects of it is the fact that although these analytics are created and generated, it's not properly ingested. Right. It's there. The information is there. It's just there for us to consume. So using something like the Creatio AI ML model, we can actually start utilizing it and make sort of insights and make business decisions based on those. So you can have like sort of a predictive model, and you're more preemptive, you're not reactive, you're proactive. So before you know, line 1 is possibly going to have an MTBF, in the upcoming 1 month, now you can start setting up your line 2, line 3 to handle that. So you don't wait until line 1 fails to, move that over somewhere else. So now you're predictive, you're preemptive. So you're not in the reactive mode. So these are the kind of value adds. And again, highlighting the point again on this platform is the fact that all of these analytics can be configured by the citizen developer, the user themselves. So they will know what to get, right? So they're not vendor locked in. And that's the beauty of it. So they don't have to go to, 3 different companies to find out how are we going to get this? Can we analyze this graph? What is the analytic? What is your predictive model? It's just they can themselves just move things around and just build it out how they'll get the business insights.
Exactly. Great point, Rashan. And yeah, it's usually not a lack of data, right? It's how do you make that data actionable?
Exactly.
And what we can bring in. I tell you what, guys, let's take a quick poll of the audience, and let's put the question out to them. So, audience, what do you consider as the most burning issue facing manufacturing today? You can submit your answers in chat. We have a couple of different options today. So, is it increasing customer expectations, legacy software and tech stack, finding quality manufacturers, lack of automation, or global competition? So all good, good challenges that we see, and we'll have to give the audience a chance to kind of go through that poll, and we'll see what they're considering as their biggest challenges. So as we look forward, right? We understand the challenges. We understand that no code can help that. What do you think are going to be the key drivers, for workflow automation? If I'm looking at it from my perspective, you look at things like, supply chain, inventory management. Inventory management can really have an impact on your profits, right? It could have too little, that's going to have an impact on your profit. You have too much, that's also going to have an impact. It can also affect the relationships that you have with your distributors, your customers. So being able to automate that process, in my mind, is a key driver. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you think are going to be those key drivers for workflow automation?
I would say, first of all, the same thing as always, right? Money. So saving money is critical for any business. I think especially in this time, saving money where you can. And I think with the right workflow automation, companies simply become more productive, and they're able to scale up operations or better serve existing customers, which is very important. And also the ability to weave multiple applications together in a streamlined workflow often enables companies to just bypass legacy solutions, which are often still there, and help companies simplify their tech portfolios. In fact, application portfolios costs have been reduced as much by 50% when automated workflows are put in place. And obviously, like Creatio, a low-code visual design tool like Creatio can help organizations to create those custom applications in a simple, intuitive fashion, and therefore allowing businesses to quickly create the apps they need without spending an excessive amount of money, time on an off-shelf solution. So also according to Forrester, development costs can be cut in half by using low-code workflow automation tool. But also saving time, simplified improvement communications, automation across the whole board. So
great point, Davey.
Yeah.
Very right, very right on that one, Davey. Actually, I was gonna add on top of that. I think I have touched upon this earlier as well. It's like how, as you mentioned, how you can build out these, making automation, robotic, etc., and then all the value. Now, a lot of the systems currently presently available in the market, legacy systems that have been like sort of, ingrained and, trenched in, etc., already have some of these things. Now, the only instance is how do you elevate that? How do you actually make it deliver value? So that is where something like Creatio can come in as the icing on the cake. It's a layer that you build on top. So you can have all these subsystems that are legacy that you can't move because some of these systems are so entrenched in the manufacturing processes, geared into the production lines, etc. Now you can layer this on top, and you can use this as the eye candy. It can be the eye candy. You can actually start ingesting all this information and then seeing the larger picture, where in the earlier stages, you want to see your production line, you go into this box. You want to see your inventory, this box. Sales pipeline, other box.
Yeah.
This is the icing on the cake. This is where we bring everything together, and that's why we call it eye candy. You just have a beautiful picture and you see, hey, you know what? Not the kind of cake I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, and you can immediately identify certain issues, certain points that you might want to improve on. And, it's only when you have that 360. I know the word 360 is used very loosely these days, but 360 should mean the view that gives you business insight. That you can have tangible value derived from. Just because you have 100 different graphs doesn't mean it has any business value, unless you can actually derive something out of it, right? So this is kind of that view that we talk about, and the agility and how quickly you can actually retrieve that without actually, going to some specific vendor, etc. I mean, you can kind of what Excel did with the pivot charts, right? So, you're able to make the graph that you want so that you get the information you require. And this is the digital enabler that helps you to move forward on this, especially times like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a great point, Rashawn, is that, it is like Excel with the pivot tables. And that's the nice thing about no code as well, right? If you were one of those gurus that could manage an Excel spreadsheet with pivot tables, you can build on a no-code platform easily, right? That's like all the training you need to develop.
Seriously, it is. It's a minimal training, right? I mean, it just literally takes a few weeks, and suddenly you are like a master of Creatio, and you're a master of business.
Right, that's right. Yeah,
I have to confess, guys, I don't know how to create a pivot table in Excel, but I can build you any dashboard in Creatio you want.
You're a forward thinker, Davey, right?
Creatio dashboards, no problem. Excel, who needs it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I totally agree with Rashawn. We see that a lot of times people don't want to get rid of legacy systems or cannot, and then he calls it eye candy. We usually say make sure that user gets a cockpit where he or she can see all the information you need on a personal level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I know we're coming up on time here. I'm getting the 3-minute warning here, guys. So the last thing I kind of wanted to touch upon is, so when we look at, we've identified challenges, we've identified how to make them better. How do you feel no code is going to help manufacturers and distributors get ahead? How can they leverage no code to innovate within their markets, right? So I look at it that way. We got started, we made it better, and now how do we leverage no code to get ahead of the competition? So this will be our final thoughts here, guys. So what do you think?
I'll just take 30 seconds. I'll just quickly give it, and then I'll hand it over to Davey. I know I've been hogging. I know I've been hogging the mic. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. We need more time.
I think the concept of innovation is the fact that you're able to change according to market need, right? You're agile, you're dynamic, so you're able to move forward. What used to be considered a business innovation 5 years ago is no longer what it is today. So your agility is what defines your innovativeness. It's your ability to change. And that is precisely what this kind of platform, this no-code platform does, because as we've been talking about this entire discussion, is that it enables you, the user, to change it as you go along, as your business changes. So you work at the change of your business speed. You don't have to wait for somebody else. You don't work for somebody, implementer, schedule, software developer, schedule, etc. You work at the speed of business. And that is the key thing that this platform provides. Sorry, Davey, yours.
Perfect. No. I mean, it's like you said. In other words, if you can't bend, you break. It's all about time, money, and efficiency. So the low-code technology lets citizen developers, you call them, the boots on the floor, create the application without waiting for whatever IT, for example. IT departments are generally pretty busy these times, and even a simple application can take days, weeks, months to create.
Absolutely.
And now people can create them by themselves whenever they want and make changes whenever you need. You can have your changes made on a day-to-day basis and be as agile as you need to survive anything. Yeah, it's perfect.
Excellent. What a way to wrap up this conversation. That's a perfect example, right? That's how we're going to be able to innovate. So Davey, Rashawn, it has been a pleasure. Like I said, I wish we had more time. We got to think about this for our future sessions. We need more time. Yeah,
certainly we should. Yes.
All right, gentlemen, a pleasure speaking today, and thank you very much for taking the time to meet and share your thoughts with our audience.
Thank you, Will.
Pleasure's mine. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that brings us to the end of our session, day 3. So I hope that everybody, was able to gain some insight on how no-code can help manufacturers and distributors take themselves into, the future. So I want to encourage everybody to join our session tomorrow, day 4. We'll be talking about industry workflow automation for business services. So we've got some great sessions lined up, practical speech, fireside chat. We also have a no-code spotlight, and we'll be also having another digital circle like we just had with Davey and Rushan. So please feel free to join us. Again, should be an exciting day. And I also wanted to remind the audience again of our upcoming product release. It's going to be a major announcement for Creatio. We're calling it our Freedom Release. It will be our product version 8. And with no coincidence here, we're going to be launching that on February 8th. So please come out to our website, register for the event, get some information on it. It promises to be a very exciting event. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody and look forward to speaking with you tomorrow.